John 8:36, who the Son sets free is free indeed. But do you know what indeed means? How it goes back, I'm anti-trafficking, it goes back to slavery, our deed, our ownership papers, that nobody in any way, in any part, owns a piece of us, not a bit. And what we know now is that with the church, we're good at getting people saved, but are we getting them free indeed for that full purpose? Columbia University has a stat that says the average person has 13 secrets at any given time, 5 of which they've never spoken out loud, usually dealing with sexual perversion. What we also know is that the stats of the church exactly match the stats of the world. So every stat that you're hearing is exactly the same, no matter what building someone's sitting in or professing. We heard the stats like last night with the orphans, 5 million, 150 million with orphan status, 1 billion with an orphan spirit. An orphan spirit is when someone does not know who they're designed to be because they have endured as a child abuse, sexual, physical, emotional, verbal. They don't know who they are. You fast forward the right now 1 billion children that are living with an orphan spirit, and you project that into all of the many that have come before. And we have countless walking with an orphan spirit, no idea who they were truly, all the way, with all their papers, all their freedom created to be. Countless billions. I like to look at it like here's heaven, right? God has a baby, and then here's the purpose. And as the baby is destined together and knit together in their mother's womb, person meets destiny. We were created on purpose for a purpose. And as it comes through the womb, if we make it, the battle begins. Satan has one purpose, and his purpose is to take out your purpose. And he's relentless, and he will not stop. The battle begins, and as this baby comes, what are we born into? Families that have our own generational patterns and secrets seeped in them. And it's not intentional, hear me. It's just generational. We don't talk about that. But here's what we need to know. The average age of abuse is 3 to 4 years old. In my story, I match all the stats. And I had, as a young girl, I knew. I loved the church. I loved my family. It's part of my purpose. And that's where the enemy focused. I was raised, I loved my crazy American, it was Greek, Italian, Puerto Rican, Irish, all fresh off the boat. They were crazy. They were very, very dramatic and dysfunctional. We had really good food, though. But we didn't know it was abuse because it's all we knew. It was normalized. But then I also had church in a very unique way as a young girl. My family in Chicago, where I was from, was Baptist. So I was like thrown into Awana when I was 5, and I loved it. I mean, the word was everything. I was sword drill champion. I was Awana chum of the month, guard of the year, girl of the year, Olympics, all that. The word was everything, and I dragged every friend I could because God was there. But the enemy, he was looking, and what he came after was my love, and he annihilated first my family. My sister was killed in her home, tragically shot when I was 7, and no one said a word. Accusation rose, silence began. And I learned when someone caught me crying, why are you crying? You're too young, you didn't even know her. And I learned my feelings don't matter. And then I was grateful that I still at least had my summers in my utopia in the country, where my mom's family was holiness Pentecostal, the total contrast. So they're like shout, dance, jump a pew. I mean, all of the speaking in tongues. I grew up with both. I had the perfect mix. Church to me was everything. But Satan could not have that. A few summers later, when I returned to my summer utopia, all that and the farm animals, I had an uncle, my favorite, who, on the way to church one day, sexually abused me, left me in the car, grabbed his guitar, and went on to church to the front of the stage to lead worship. And I was already seeped in, not talking about it, knowing what to do. We don't speak to that. My whole love of the church was annihilated, and I was flooded with shame, because we know when we take on that kind of abuse, the shame comes on the victim. And I lived under that for decades. I mean, I did it all to numb it all out, eating, drinking, promiscuity, pornography, just anything not to feel. I don't even know all that happened. I was numb and wanted to stay numb. But the thing is, I never missed church. I learned very young how to live an unreconciled life. I was, as most of the world is, not indeed free. But I was at church, and if you would have seen me in my 30s, you would have thought I was killing it. I was an area pastor at Willow Creek, a mega church, and I was raising my kids in one of the wealthiest suburbs of Chicago. But God loved me too much. What he did was usher me into a crazy encounter with a Catholic healing mass. I didn't have any open doors anymore to the healing thing. I'd closed them all. I didn't want to hear about it. I didn't believe in it. And I just didn't like Catholics. But God literally had a plan to reconcile everything. And when he had this priest ask me what I was there for, I didn't even tell him the truth. But he said he knew something was blocking my prayer, and it felt like another baby. As he said those words, it unlocked a key that I didn't even know I'd closed. I had had an abortion 17 years earlier when I was 17 years old in my decades of shame. And I didn't even remember it. And he said, do you want to confess it? I said, we don't do confession. I'm not Catholic. He said, James 5:16, confess your sins one to another. And he said, after I was redeemed and it was gone and it was healed, because I believed I needed that, he said, the Lord has penance for you. And I said, what would that be? He said, that's walking out your healing. That's freedom. You've had secrets for years. He went on to say, the Lord is showing me more open doors, and he named all of them. Pornography, the occult, all these things I didn't know. I mean, too many. You would have to attend my breakout or join up for Real Talk to learn. It was amazing what happened. And then he said, young lady, I now can hear what's happening, because I had a life-threatening illness with my third pregnancy. And he said, do you believe the Lord could heal you? And I saw that my whole childhood, but I had closed the door to that. And I said, I do. And so he prayed, and I received that healing. And I could tell you, he said to me, I don't know who you are or what God has for you to do, but I've never had a night like this. And I could tell you now who I am. I am a child of the Most High God. I was made on purpose for a purpose. And I am free indeed. And my heart's goal is to walk with all of you this weekend and lead you into your purpose, because we have billions walking with an orphan spirit that need us free, so that together we could walk into a world without orphans. Thank you.